Hello, everyone. I'm Mystery.
And I am Dalton Mortimer, the Authenticator, and we are the Duality of Man. And, gee, Minnesota's not having a very good time of it now, is it?
Yeah, between all the rioting, I mean, I know they call it protesting, but let's call a spade a spade. They're fucking rioting over there. The shootings, which were unfortunate, but when you're actively impeding federal law enforcement and being confrontational, such as trying to run one over with a car or resisting arrest and getting into a fight with them, like your chances of getting shot rise exponentially.
And just so we're clear on this point, media, you guys wax lyrical about stochastic terrorism all the time when it's potentially a YouTuber's fault that something happens, but you don't think framing ICE as the fucking Schunstoppel will spoil any negativity in that direction. Okay.
It is well known at this point that the people in the media have absolutely zero principles, and they will say whatever they need to say. They will shift narratives. They will, you know, twist the truth. They like one of the most shameless things that they ever did was whenever they went on and on about Kamala Harris being appointed the border czar, and then when she's running for president, pretending as if that never happened.
Yeah, yeah. The borders are that didn't border while they were czarring. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for her. Oh, look, it backfired horribly on her. Who could have predicted that? Everyone who's paying attention.
But one of the most pervasive narratives throughout all these protests, both here in Minnesota and throughout a lot of left wing protests throughout the years, is that it's not organized. These are just spontaneous people like reacting to what's happening and rejecting it as if they're saying that the American people reject this. When it was actually, I believe, over the weekend, there was a signal chat that was leaked and showing that these people are extremely organized, like to a genuinely frightening degree. And I believe one of the people that was shot, I believe his name was Alex P something, I forget his name, but he was the most recent person in Minnesota to get shot by I believe it was CBP. I mean, they
Mm.
say it was us, but it was actually CBP. He got shot, and he actually had a weapon on him. But apparently, um, it's rumored to be that he was part of this group chat as well. And we have a video here from Count Dankula, and he's going to go into exactly how frighteningly organized all this is. So let's get to it.
Hmm.
So, as we're recording this is still a sort of a developing story. Basically, there are mass protests happening against ICE agents all over America right now. And in many cases, they're being attacked, they're being shot at, they're having like petrol bombs chucked at them, all kinds of things, right?
Yeah, they're also um, going outside their hotel rooms and making lots and lots of noise to prevent them from sleeping, which I'm pretty sure is a war crime.
Hmm.
But yeah, these people are absolutely unhinged.
Right now, it turns out that there's been a bunch of signal chats being used by left wing agitators, and it turns out that these signal chats contain a lot of rather important people in government, mainstream news journalists, and lots of other people. And they're not just in there to cover it, they're in there encouraging and helping everyone to basically commit all these crimes up and down the country. These chats have now been exposed, and a lot of them are now full on panicking, and some are even trying to like flee the country before they get arrested.
Yeah, that's how guilty these motherfuckers are.
Well, and that implies we have reached the figurative, and that's a good thing phase of the storytelling. The first, it's not happening. Then, if it's happening, it's not a big deal. And then, okay, it is happening and it is a big deal, but it's a good thing. So give us kudos for it. Portion of the conversation.
Yeah, there was one chat leak that I saw where I believe they said that they were using schools as like home bases for their activities, which is just insane.
Yeah, yeah, that's Unfortunately, this is what happens when so many degrees in academia are literally just activism as a degree.
Not even not even universities, but like elementary schools. I believe one was.
Right, but that's an old community organizer trick from the '60s. I believe it's mentioned in Rules for Radicals. The idea that you should use any institution that's known for community building, whether it be schools or churches or scouts or clubs or something, to uh, organize your activism so that it looks more organic and so on.
I actually have a like after we get done with the Dankley video, I actually have a document from one of them regarding a bit about their organization and how they inform on ICE law enforcement.
Hmm.
Right, and apparently it's going to be some insurrectionism stuff. And I don't mean the little silly podium stealing shit that happened on J6. I mean, people are looking at some very serious times. So a lot of them are kind of in panic mode at the moment. Independent journalist Cam Higbee reports that he has infiltrated Signal group chats in Minneapolis being used by anti-ICE activists to track federal immigration agents and obstruct their operations across the state. Higbee published a detailed thread on X outlining the structure of the groups, which he said operate daily and are organized to monitor, identify, and interfere with ICE activity.
So this would be conspiracy and obstruction.
Yes.
You know, it's funny how many conspiracy theories just end up being the truth.
Yeah. Conspiracy theory is current year plus about 6 months. That's the proof rate for quite a lot of conspiracy theories these days. And oddly enough, they managed to make this possible by presupposing other conspiracy theories for which there is no evidence. Stuff like the patriarchy, stuff like late stage capitalism, stuff like cultural white supremacy, etc. None of which ever bear any fruit. Meanwhile, the actual conspiracies that they do to counter these fictional conspiracies continue to have a current year plus 6 months proof rate.
Yeah, we were calling this shit out years ago, and especially in the LA riots when we were talking about, oh, why is there this convenient slab of, bricks just like a couple of blocks away from where people are rioting? Why are they handing out fucking gas masks to, resist pepper spray? Why do they have all these pre-made signs or pre-made shields that they're just handing out to people out of the back of a truck?
And that's not even getting into the potential glowing aspect of it. The three-letter agencies and all that rot.
Yeah. Well, we know that there are some government officials that are involved in this. Whether or not they're from a three-letter government agency, I don't know. But it just goes to show that they always tell you to just don't believe your lying eyes while the thing that's obviously happening and is going on right in front of you, and that you're supposed to just freaking ignore it because the media says so.
Yeah, noticing is the highest crime according to the UK government, as an example. How dare you notice? You are forbidden to notice. You must believe the current consensus of normative institutions that we have decided upon.
Yeah,
No, we don't have any evidence for why you should believe this, but we will insist that you believe it within an inch of your fucking life, if it comes to that.
And after reading through some of these Signal chats, I would say that the domestic terrorist label is absolutely appropriate. These people need to be stopped. They're fucking unhinged.
Well, I mean, this has been going on since, what, 2009 with Antifa and people like Yvette Falarca and Chanta Driver and BAM and all those other fun organizations.
Yeah, but I would say that it's gotten to a point where the organized tactics of these people can no longer be ignored, and especially
no, but that's what I mean. How long these people have gotten away with this shit and even been framed as the good guys. Meanwhile, Gamergate, Comicsgate, the Fandom Menace, etc., are apparently the worst scum of the earth and that the media and academia can think of.
To be fair, for
Not
those,
the literal anarcho-communist and anarcho-syndicalist who beat people over the head with bike locks. No, the people who think quality of art should trump the political and moral usefulness of art to instrumentalizing narrative.
to be fair, I consider being called scum by the likes of them to be a badge of honor.
Yeah, the Rick and Morty meme. Your boobs mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer.
For days, Higby wrote, you'll notice emojis next to people's names. Here's a key for what those emojis mean. The highlighted positions are the most crucial. Most are self-explanatory. Mobile patrols spend their entire shift searching for suspicious vehicles. When they find one, they send it to the group so that plate checkers can compare with their database and see if it's a known federal vehicle, or if the patrol can make the confirmation so that the database can be updated. This
How do they have a database of federal vehicles?
I reiterate my previous point. That pill is glowing very, very brightly, like glow stick green here.
Dispatch runs a maxed out call all day. Dispatch runs a maxed out call all day, telling protesters where ICE has been spotted and how they can be best impeded. Higby said each area of the city operates its own group chat, with districts divided into patrol zones that guide activists on where to operate. He posted a screenshot of a map showing how the zones are organized. Here is a screenshot of the active dispatch call. It's always active, as well as a shift change. You can see folks are changing their emojis, clocking.
I want to hit every single one of these assholes with conspiracy, obstruction, and aiding and abetting, since their entire purpose is making sure that federal operations are interrupted so the criminals can get away.
Not to mention destruction of property and or grievous bodily harm as and when those get added to the mix.
Oh yeah, I saw. Did you hear the news that during a confrontation, some like out of their mind radical bit off an ICE agent's finger?
She bit his finger off?
Well, I don't know if it was a woman or not, but yeah, I think one of the ICE agents got their finger bit off.
These people, I mean, I know they're deconstructionists and they literally want to destroy society because they think Rousseau was right about the idyllic state of nature and crap. But why do they always end up going so feral?
When you've abandoned all logic, the only thing that you have is primal emotion, and that.
I mean, for the sake of the meme, this is literally like some Cordite demon shit.
In and out. I'll also attach below a video of dispatch actually tracking the vehicle I was in, claiming that we were confirmed ICE. They constantly misidentify vehicles. Pay attention to emojis tagged on plate checks, he wrote.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I've seen multiple videos of these, like, just insane authoritarian protesters behaving as if they have any kind of legitimate authority and demanding papers from people, like demanding to know who they are, like asking them if they're ICE. And then, even though people will tell them that they're not ICE multiple times, people will just say that they're ICE and then just continue to harass them.
Wait, hold on. Run it back for a second, because hold on a second. You mean to tell me that even though the media and academia and the protesters themselves frame ICE agents as the Schoenstappel, they're the ones asking for papers, please?
Yeah, they're literally behaving like fucking brown shirts.
Uh-huh. It's also fucking tiresome when, like, literally by inverting their understanding of reality, you get closer to actual reality than they think is reality. And they never like they never know how to turn off. They never know how to think. They just let the like moral indignation and righteous like spiteful fury do all the thinking for them, and then they just become such feral little imps. It's ridiculous. Not to mention, it's funny to me that despite all the logistical resources they must have to get all this shit organized, they still get it wrong more often than they get it right. That old adage of Mahanlin's razor. Well, it can be both malice and incompetence. They can be incompetently malicious.
That's a perfect description for these people.
It's, it, it, it,
He also
it,
released.
it's just such a meme that, these kind of protesters are so incompetent that they can't even get their own shit right. And once again, add it to the pile of evidence.
A recording that he said shows protesters following a vehicle he was in after being labelled as ICE, with group members instructing commuters, a term that refers to ICE chasers, to follow the vehicle.
Yeah, I also read in one of the chats, I believe that they refer to ICE agents as abductors or just something. They don't refer to them as proper law enforcement.
Because to them, their claim to the law is illegitimate, and if they are representing the law, then that law needs to be abolished, would be my guess, probably.
And it doesn't help that you have politicians and quote unquote legal experts who are just lying bullshitters who are actively going on to these mainstream news shows and actually saying that ICE is not law enforcement, ICE is operating legally, ICE is like a stuff, but all of which is just absolute bullshit. It's like
And
the moment.
again, whenever a fan of a YouTuber does something wrong, stochastic terrorism, the YouTuber is to blame. But calling ICE Schulenstoppel, totally not stochastic terrorism that's meant to escalate people's fears and paranoia to the point of moral indignation or anything.
Each day, the activists create a new group chat for each zone, with previous chats being routinely deleted to avoid detection. The chats hit the maximum capacity of 1,000 by midday each day. Higby further explained that the quasi-police force use a system called Salute, which stands for Size of Federal Units, Activity, Locations, Uniforms, Times, and Locations. They instruct ICE chasers to follow and confront agents using this system to known locations. They are everywhere and local police are cooperating, Higby added. He showed evidence of one observer calling out a possible agent, but because she is out walking her dog and can't continue, the dispatch called for backup. Another message indicated that.
That's another thing. Like the absolute failing of the local police. Like obviously, like they are doing the bid of the mayor and of Game of Thrones has taught me fucking anything, is that you never trust a fucking Frey. But like at some point you would think that the officer's moral conscience would just get the better of them and they would actually enforce the fucking law.
Also, something that never or almost never gets brought up here. What jobs do these people have that they can just take off time in the middle of the day to do random protesting bullshit?
Well, I think since a lot of them are, I think, honestly, I think a lot of them are either older people who are already retired, housewives, um, or people who are just taking time off.
But that's the thing. I don't know how much time off these people must get to do this stuff on and off for weeks on end. Especially
Well,
not in this economy.
well, it said that they operate in shifts, so it's entirely possible that while one group of people are out doing their jobs, another group of people are out doing this, and then when it's their time to go to work, they shift in and out. Which means like, Christ, do you have a fucking life?
Yeah, it's like, do you ever turn this like politically indignant moral bullshit off? I
It's become like
honestly
their
kind
entire
of feel bad for these
personality.
people that they can't ever turn it off. It's like the they live glasses, but they're like glued to their fucking faces. They can't take them off. It's ridiculous.
It's got to be a genuine mental illness at this point. Like I cannot imagine a mentally healthy individual going out and doing what these people are doing.
Well, and let's be real. Dr. Random McCam once pointed this out, and I have yet to find any evidence to disprove him here. A lot of people of the social justice / woke uh, stripe are classic cases of cluster B personality disorders, borderlines, histrionics, narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, um, and what's the other one? I forget what the last one is, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if most of these people do actually have like cluster B personality disorders.
That local police will get involved if ICE hinders public safety. Higby also revealed that the activists have a home base for their operations, but he has not been able to identify where it is located. He also described a broader support network connected to the operation, including a mutual aid group for educators. The protesters use a mutual aid system. I tried to join the mutual aid that for Bloomington. An admin told me that it was a vetted chat for teachers and that I'd need to describe my relationship to a school and give my real name. I couldn't do that, so I never made it in. Why are there teachers aiding in this effort? Well, there's
We need to clean out our schools. There have been reports releasing that children, um, like functionally cannot read, and that they're relying on like AI to basically read them back text. But it's just like our children can't read, and we have teachers going out there like programming them to be fucking activists. Like,
Not to mention all the egg cracking of all the prepubescent children being encouraged to chemically transition or anything.
yeah, and then you see them like whine and complain about how important teachers are, and about how they're not getting enough support and getting enough funding. Well, teachers used to be respected. Not any fucking more. I don't care. Clean
Yeah,
them out.
because you can't just adopt the role of something that is respected and expect that respect to last when you invert everything that respect came from. It's just like IPs. But when the social justice types co-opt and subvert and deconstruct IPs, they're surprised that stuff like the Acolyte um, doesn't get as much love as the original trilogy or as the prequel trilogy. They get upset that things like Velma don't get as much respect as the like 4 Scooby-Doo movies from the 90s and early 2000s that started with Zombie Island and ended with Cyber Chase. That they're absolutely stunned that Star Trek Discovery and Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks and Starfleet Academy don't get as much respect as TNG, because they honestly believe in the whole tabula rasa thing. They think that you essentially like something out of coincidence and aren't convinced to like something because of the inherent qualities that thing has. So in their minds, they should be able to change everything meaningful about a thing and still get the same reaction as one of the more famous examples. Because they don't understand that people like things for reasons and not out of coincidence.
Yeah, it's like they take the shell of something, hollow it out, and then wear the shell like like protective armor that they can hide behind when they act like an asshole.
And this is the same thing. They've turned teaching posts into activist posts, and they're surprised that instead of being able to borrow the like engage in stolen valor with all the great teachers of the world, they're being treated like the activists that they are, and thus treated with contempt, because you do not hate most activists enough either.
Yeah, like they always portray these guys like it's still like fighting for civil rights in the '60s when like that is not even close to what's happening. And honestly, that's really a good thing. Like there was a I don't know if you saw this or not. It didn't really make the rounds on social media all that much, but the um the new Black Panthers actually got called out by the original Black Panther group because the new Black Panthers said that they were going to target ICE agents.
What does that have to do with black people in any way? Like, I'm.
That's one of the things that I've never understood. Like this whole like ICE immigration debate, they're saying that black people should be in support of it, which I don't understand because we're Americans and we're trying to get people who legally immigrated to America
Well,
out,
it's.
especially a lot of the criminals, and that is affecting everything from housing to education. And you can really see this in places like Chicago, where the black community is very upset because their traitorous mayor, Brandon Johnson, flooded their communities with immigrants and it's taking up a lot of their resources. And they're very unhappy about this. But, Brandon
Well,
Johnson, like every other Democrat,
it essentially boils down to the intersectional thing. They think all people of color should gang up on whitey, and they think that the criminal element of cartels in the Latino community and the like thug culture within black community is a point of commonality that they should form solidarity around.
yeah, it's not happening. Like people are trying to make it happen, but it's not. Thank God.
To,
And I've even seen
to,
some very hilarious videos of black guys in Minnesota telling them to get the fucking illegals out of here because they hate them.
to quote Regina George, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not happening.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we are we as in the broader black community are actually standing firm on not siding with people who are actively trying to screw us over.
Hmm.
Now, if only we could just dump the Democrats, it'd be so much easier. I'm not even saying they have to vote Republican. They could go independent. Just stop voting for the fucking Democrats. I beg of you.
Hey, just we need more parties. Seriously, we need more statistically valid third parties so that we can stop this red and blue dichotomy every fucking time.
The two-party system really is killing us. But it's going to be very difficult for a third party to break in. Like it's not like England where they already have multiple parties. So if you start a new party, it'd be easier to gain momentum and traction. But
Yeah, no, there's this idea that if you vote third party, you are necessarily throwing away your votes.
There's a thing called the long slow march through the institutions. You don't have to waste time convincing adults because they're going to be able to see through your bullshit. So you get job as teachers so that you can indoctrinate the children when they're young. Lots of totalitarian regimes all over the world do that. The left are using totalitarian tactics. Yes, pay attention. Anyway, according to Higby, the operations run around the clock. Ice chaser operations go all night. The dispatch call is 24/7. These are messages screenshotted at 2 a.m. asking for observers at a location with potential illegals. And here we are at the end of the article. Now, I'm not surprised by this. I knew that there was probably something like this happening because I know that Antifa and all these other groups use places like Discord, Signal, Telegram, blah, 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 to like arrange all their stuff and all their protests and to exchange information. So this is a thing that I'm not very surprised about. Of course, they were doing stuff like this.
well, yeah, we always knew that, but now that I'm glad that there's literally hard evidence because the media kept trying to gaslight everyone into saying that it wasn't happening.
Again, current year plus 6 months equals conspiracy theory just becomes uncontroversial fact.
But
That's the
now
algorithm, folks.
I just really, really, really fucking hope that these people go to fucking jail because, like, I don't know if I don't know if you saw this when it happened, but that you know, festering anus of a propagandist, Don Lemon. Do you did you see what he did?
The church thing.
Yes, and Dalton, I you do not understand how infuriated I was. Like if I wasn't, if I had been in Minnesota and not at home and at work, I genuinely don't know what I would have done. Like I was so, I was so infuriated. I was so infuriated. My rage literally followed me into my dreams.
Oh dear.
Like I'm not even kidding me. I had a dream where I confronted these people and it got really, really fucking ugly. And thankfully, my dream allowed me to sort through a lot of my anger, and I woke up a lot calmer than I was. But that is how angry I was. My rage followed me into my dreams.
Subconscious for the win. But yeah,
But
yeah, I remember when Don Lemon first got axed from, was it CNN? Uh,
yes,
it's just it's how do these people sleep at night? How do these people not realize that they are disturbing and despicable on a level that I don't think can be overstated? And how much partisan political hack do you have to be for CNN to go, no, sorry, you went too far for us?
good.
Like when even CNN is looking at you going, no, I'm not with that guy. That guy's a nutter. You know you done fucked up somewhere.
Yeah, and the administration is trying to arrest him as they should, but unfortunately, fucking partisan judges are blocking the um the request for an indictment. So like a sort of partisan judges and judges who are being activists for the branch are killing the idea of justice in America. Like they
It's
genuinely are.
it it just it makes it's always the same maneuvers too. That's the infuriating thing. It's always just the same thing that happened the last time something controversial happened again.
Yeah. Like Don Lemon was clearly a part of this, invasion of a church, and he was with them before it happened. He, yeah, obviously spoken to them. He knew what was going to happen. He didn't say what was going to happen or knew hand, but like the way he spoke, like let people know that he did know where they were going and what they were planning on doing. And
because
he
he
even
because
said,
because he because he thinks that the anti-ICE protest is the modern day version of the civil rights movement, and he'll get a lot of journalistic kudos for being the one to cover this shit, and possibly posterity in the historical record. Unfortunately, though, Don, it's not 1975 anymore. These aren't the new civil rights activists, and you will be known as a partisan political hack who destroyed his career from his own incompetence and stupidity.
yeah, and he to just give a hint of how thoroughly disgusting this man is. While families are leaving with their children, cowering and in fear that these people were like they have this like one insane white guy who's just running up and screaming at people and calling them Nazis and hateful about
And of course,
why are
it's the
you not
white
out
guy who is the attack dog.
yeah, and he's like asking why are you not out protesting, like motherfucker, they're in church. Like church is more important than your retarded fucking politics.
Well, but that's the thing. They cannot conceive of anything that is more important than politics or isn't touched by politics in some way. This is the brain rot of everything is political, the terminally political people who genuinely can't imagine prioritizing anything above above politics or separate from politics. I ran into this the other night on Facebook. I was in a witchcraft group on Facebook, and I saw one of those "Let's Curse Ice" posts, and I didn't want to say something super controversial because I didn't really fancy getting banned or anything. But then I posted, I really wish we didn't have to do partisan political shit here, and even this was wrongthink, apparently. And when my response to their everything is political blah blah thing was magic and witchcraft are too important to be used as partisan political tools, you twats. They lost their fucking shit. They cannot conceive of the notion that anything under the sun is meant to be prioritized over politics. And then, of course, they did the Mott and Bailey thing of, do you deny that everything could, in theory, have a political context? And I was like, okay, I know this Mott and Bailey trick. You're using everything is political in the broadest, most general terms, and then using that as an excuse to advocate for very narrow, very specific, very morally charged politics instead of general ones.
And also, the very obvious answer to that is no. Because there are obviously certain things that cannot in any way be political.
Well, even if you're willing to, concede to the very, very broad premise, that doesn't mean it's an excuse for partisan political activism that only goes one way. That's the tack I took with it. Like, I because frankly, it felt good to call them out for their usual Mott and Bailey shit. Everything is political, used in the most general terms, so that they can then go ahead and use it in the most specific terms possible, and then basically claim that they have the moral high ground over all things and should use literally everything as a political soapbox, a weapon, or a lecture opportunity.
But the thing that's making it very, very interesting is allegedly, right? This is, I don't know if this is stuff that's been kind of exaggerated because you know how the internet is. Apparently there was plans to actually torch vehicles, attack officers with weapons, and also plans to try and shoot and snipe them. Again, don't know if that's some exaggerated stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I mean, they torched Teslas. They actively got into fights with officers before, and they have tried to kill ICE agents before. So, like, all of this is entirely plausible.
Yeah, all of this is things that they have done before and will probably do again. So,
stuff, or if that was actually going to happen. But basically, it's now people are now being looked at for potential terrorism and insurrection charges, right? And it's got to the point where a lot of people in these saying, "Boys, the group chat leaked." And oh man, and this is the thing is, if our group chat leaks, then yeah, we're going to get in trouble for all of our racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, misogyny, and all the other fun things. No fun allowed, I guess. But as far as that goes, we're looking at a little bit of a cancellation. Maybe a little year or two in jail under the Section 127 of the Communications Act of 2003.
Not us. We live in America.
Yeah, guys, get out of the UK while the getting's good. Come join the colonists who were smart enough to see this coming centuries ago.
Because unfortunately, unlike the Yanks, we don't have freedom of speech here. However, these guys, when their group chats leak, they're looking at 25 to life, right? Because of some of the shit they're planning and they're doing, and it's caused a lot of them to just go into absolute meltdown. There was people still posting in the chat, not realizing that there were spies still in the chat. Now, again, this isn't just one chat. There's dozens and dozens of them all over the place, and they were going, "What are we going to do? Oh my God!" I think one of them said, "Oh my God, we are so fucked." because they knew the type of shit that they'd been talking about in the group chat.
Like I've actually seen some of these posts where they're actually talking about fleeing the country, which if these people want to kick themselves out, I don't care.
Yeah, it's like, well, considering the whole point of this was to enforce borders, thanks for the assistance in enforcing borders by deporting yourself. Bye.
Yeah, good, and don't come back.
And they knew they were in like massive trouble and all that. So apparently some of the leaders as well were saying like, I'm leaving the state tonight. I have friends in Mexico that I can stay with and everything. And wouldn't it just be fucking hilarious, right? That all of these people are trying their best to stop foreigners from being deported. And in response, all of these people end up being the ones to self-deport because they're now wanted criminals. Oh man, the old switcheroo, but it's fine. It's fine. Like those immigrants you love so much, they can have your house and your stuff. After all, that's what you wanted, isn't it?
No, kick both of them out.
Yeah. Why do an either or when a both and will work?
Yeah, like they can both leave and then they can live with the immigrants in their own home countries.
And then when they realize that their home countries are a shithole and that maybe they should be grateful, not that this will ever likely happen, mind you, because no self-awareness, but maybe then they will realize why we were advocating for the policy of they're illegal and criminal to get them the fuck out.
Yeah, so there's actually been a development where I believe Trump spoke with Tim Walz, and now the state police are actually arresting these people, which was hilarious to see because a lot of them were genuinely surprised. And I believe they even like used anti-riot sound weaponry against them, which was hilarious.
Good old-fashioned Schadenfreude.
Yeah, so it seems that now that the police, now that they've stopped being pussified, are actually allowed to do their jobs. Just there was one hilarious bit where, as the protesters were being routed by the state police, they were outside of a hotel where the ICE agents were staying, and one of the ICE agents mooned them.
Well, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Get out of that studio apartment, right, and give that to a Mexican. He's earned it. He deserves it, right? After all, that is what you want. You want as many of them over as you possibly can. Because my GDP matters so much more than my native countrymen and stuff like that. Now,
they're not even the people. They're not even the people advocating for my GDP. That shit's the corporations. These people are advocating for them on the basis that they think they're oppressed. They literally, and this was another conversation I ended up getting into in that one group. They literally see the illegal cartel associates as the Jews and see ICE as the SS.
But they hate the Jews.
I tried to explain to one woman how casting curses on people at random is just gonna make another burning times. And she literally said to me, the burning times are already here. Just change the ones they're burning. They're burning the people of color and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, do you seriously not understand how fucked up it is for someone who allegedly considers themselves a witch to be doing the witch trials as a metaphor thing? I was being fucking literal in the sense that the more satanic you make us look, the more you're going to prove the satanic panickers right. And she turns around and goes, but they're harming the illegals and we're supposed to stand with the marginalized and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
Dolan, I'm suspiciously not on fire right now.
Yeah, like I tried to explain these things to these people, and it was just it was less productive than talking to a wall, because at least a wall holds still. This fucking wall decides to go in the exact opposite direction you push it, apparently. And of course the political F word kept coming up over and over again, and I tried to explain that fascism has a particular definition, and this does not qualify as that definition, and they just would not have it. There was even a particularly hilarious moment where they said, "Well, witches can't be fascist," and of course the first thing that popped in my head was, well, the Nazis were literally occultists, and their fucking Aryan bullshit came from a bastardization of Helena Blavatsky's theories on occult prehistory, coupled with Nordic revivalism and Tibetan mysticism practices, and she started saying, "Well, an occultist isn't the same thing as a witch," and I'm like, to most people, and indeed even most practitioners, the term witch and occultist are fairly interchangeable in most contexts. And then I asked her to define fascism, and she goes, "You know what fascism is already, and you know, and you know what ICE is doing qualifies as fascism." And that was at that point was the point where I, gave the actual definition of fascism, which is the premise that societies and civilization should be overseen by a multifaceted, all-pervasive bureaucracy. And she just, I think that was when she stopped talking, because I actually knew the definition of fascism, and it was different from the one she had, and I think that was what made her stop talking. Lol.
Yeah, these people, they already have the conclusions already decided in their head, and surprise, surprise, in all their conclusions, they're always the right ones and the good guys, and everybody that disagrees with them is absolute evil. And anything in reality that doesn't fit their worldview is either evil or must be ignored.
Or must be co-opted and subverted from within and used as a weapon.
Yes, but like, at this point, like, I know that we're supposed to try and talk to people and reason with them, but at this point, we'd have better luck talking to a brick wall.
Yep. No. Brick walls are more cooperative than these people when they get on their moral high horse.
Stuff being posted about this like online, and there are still a bunch of different things coming out, right? So again, all that stuff I said earlier is allegedly, right? But apparently there is a bunch of stuff that's coming out into this, so it's a developing story, so we'll keep a little eye on it and see where it goes.
Yeah. So I do have a document here regarding the ICE and the protesters. It's called a Signal/ICE Watch Quick Start Tips.
Mm.
Says, without good reason, do not use your real name as your signal name. Basic stuff. Turn off phone number lookups. It is a legal risk to have it turned on. The fact that they're acknowledging it right here in this, quick start sheet that it's a legal risk proves that what they know that they're doing is illegal.
But they think they should do it anyway because they consider it to be a moral necessity that they do it. Especially because they consider the institutions to be against them and consider ICE to be the SS. So to them, this is them righteously standing up against the Nazis the way that the French did during the Second World War.
See, do not share identifiable information, legal names, addresses, etc. in signal groups. DM if needed. Do not put anything into signal you would not want read back to you by a lawyer, even in a vetted chat. Like, they know they're fucking guilty.
Well, and they also think that those laws are morally wrong, so they're going to do it anyway.
Let's see. A signal group can be made for any purpose, but most ice-related signal groups are based around a neighborhood/cluster of neighborhoods. They primarily fall into three different categories: rapid response, sometimes called RR or patrols; alerts only, organized discussion, chat, etc. Ice Watch. Many ice-related signal groups are built around this non-violent bullshit tactic for responding to ice actions. Currently, events typically unfold in this way. When ICE or ERO or CBP is spotted, some people follow to monitor and alert others to where ICE is going, typically coordinated in rapid response groups. Information is best shared via salute, see below. Dankula talked about that. When ICE stops to invade a space or abduct someone, arrest, where they go to arrest someone who should not fucking be here, alerts are sent out. Yeah, so they are very organized in how they track law enforcement and impede, and how they have people like throughout the city. If in Minnesota or Minneapolis, Minnesota, if you're ICE, just assume you're being watched at all times.
And what's especially funny is when you consider that Minnesota is nowhere near the southern border, and yet somehow all these illegals get all the way up there.
Well,
Anyway,
if you recall, the Biden administration was literally putting them on planes and then flying them out to various parts of the country.
I had forgotten that.
Yeah, God, that was the damage that the Biden administration did to this country is going to be studied for fucking decades.
And so is the COVID lockdowns and the stupidity therein contained.
Yeah. Let's see. Getting a whistle and walk or drive around your neighborhoods. If your whistle is visible, it's very possible you're running into someone doing the same thing. If you see ICE, blow your whistle or repeatedly honk your horn, even if you aren't on signal. If you hear a whistle or repeatedly honking a horn, go towards it, keep a safe distance, make noise, draw attention, fail. See, this is where I would consider to be aiding and abetting, because they're doing this to alert people that law enforcement is nearby and thus allow illegal immigrants to escape custody.
Because again, they think of them as the Jews, and they think of themselves as the French resistance during the Second World War or something along those lines.
I've seen videos where even when ICE is trying to explain to these people that the person that they're attempting to arrest is like a gang member or a drug dealer or a murderer or even a child molester, these people are still opposed to ICE arresting them.
Well, because they think of those things as lifestyles and part of their identity and part of their culture, and how dare you marginalize and criminalize it.
Honestly, at this point, I'm getting to think that the Beanie Man is right about actively being in the Civil War.
I mean, we've been in 2026 for less than a month, and as we know, the current formula is truth equals f of n plus 6 months. so
I mean, true, but considering how well these things are organized, they have to have been doing this and plotting these things out much sooner than earlier this month.
Well, that's why I mentioned earlier the whole Antifa BAM thing started in 2009, and they basically just bided their time until 2013, when, as we know, all the feminist movers and shakers started to move into the various institutions, and only then did Gamergate and Comicsgate and all the rest of them arise to thwart and counter them. That's why they were so against us to begin with, was because they thought after Obama got elected that second time that they had won and that it was time to start creating utopia. But when factions like Gamergate and Comicsgate showed up, they got so irately spooked because they thought they had won and they didn't think anyone was going to show up to stop them, and that's why they demonized us all as Nazis and fascists and all the other untermentioned things, because they figured that if we're going to be resisted, then let's frame them as the bad guys so we have carte blanche to get rid of them, or to demonize them, or to criticize them, or to mock them, etc.
The reason that Obama won a second time is because nobody viewed him as radical as the left are now. Like if the left had been full mask off in 2012, Obama would not have won a second time.
But according to these people, oh, we got two Obama administrations in a row. Well then, we must obviously have won the culture war. Time to celebrate by activating all those dormant splinter cells in all those institutions we've long marched through. Oh no, as soon as we started actually acting on our ideology, people started opposing our ideology. How did that happen? Quickly, they must be Nazis, but we must be the good guys, and they must be fucking authoritarian traditionalist morons. So if we can't have a utopian world free of these sorts of people, then we can demonize them. Only they don't. Their worldview is not correct, and therefore their understanding of reality is not correct, and therefore they keep losing.
Well, the thing is, in the Obama administration, you were allowed to basically ignore politics. You could just go out, like live your life, like enjoy your hobby, do whatever you wanted to do, and you didn't have to think about politics 24/7. Like following
Yeah,
the second Obama
and you
term,
had the bread and circuit, and you had the bread and circuses to make your life fun or meaningful enough to not worry about things. But what did they do? They went straight for the bread and circuses, hence Gamergate and Comicsgate. And they
yeah,
wonder why there was such virulent opposition to them. It's almost like it's been known for millennia. If you want your populace to stay docile and mostly detached from politics, then make sure you give them their bread and their circuses. And any ideology that goes for bread and circuses first is going to be extremely short-lived and crash and burn, like social justice is currently doing.
So, do you have any other thoughts about this whole Minnesota situation?
I'm just curious what the next update's going to be. I thought the Somali thing was going to be the end of it, but no, here we are. And again, we're still in January as of recording this. It is still what is today's date?
The 28th.
Yeah, it is still Wednesday, the 28th of January of 2026. We're not even a full month through yet. And the formula says T equals F of N plus 6 months. So God only knows what the next 6 months or so are going to bring.
Well, there is one small hilarious update. I don't know if you saw it, but there was this video going around of this woman talking about what it meant to be Somali. And instead of actually telling us, she just kept referring to Somalis eating bananas and rice for like the entire speech. Like she literally said nothing except bananas and rice. It was one of the most bizarre things I'd ever seen. Like you'd think even an idiot would be able to say something
Well,
that
but the Somali IQ statistics, though.
right, right. But anyway, she's in jail now for attacking a federal agent.
Yeah, that's good. And by the way, for those that would stupidly think of ICE as the new SS, there are no chambers that I'm aware of. There are no chambers. All that's happening is these people are being sent back to their country of origin. And if you consider this to be a humanitarian travesty, then that's you acknowledging that these countries are terrible places to live. So maybe you should be grateful you live in the world hegemon that is a first world country.
Yeah. And personally, I really don't care if ICE goes around and starts grabbing uh, illegals off the street and deporting them, because here's the thing: we have the CBP app, which Donald Trump repurposed to allow for more peaceful and organized self deportations, where people can, set up, when they leave, they can like sign up to leave. They would buy them a plane ticket and also give them, I believe, $2,400
Hmm.
for leaving. And if you have an option that nice and you're not taking it, then if ICE comes and grabs you, I really don't care, because we offered you the velvet glove and you rejected it, so now you're getting the iron fist.
Well, and not to mention, but we have a legal mechanism for immigration. Like, if you want to live here and immigrate here legally, that is an option open to you. Why in the fuck are we just acting like that's not a thing? It's not that we're against all immigrants. It's that the illegal immigrants are illegal, and many times that's not the only illegal thing they're doing. They're frequently working with cartels and human traffickers and grifters and committing fraud and so on and so forth. So, like, if you're upset about the brown people being sent home, maybe tell said brown people to come in the fucking legally approved way instead of trying to hop the fence every now and then.
All right, that's it for the Duality Man. I have been Mystery.
I've been Dalton Mortimer, the Authenticator, and we've been the Duality Man. Cheers, guys.
Goodbye, everybody.